Welcome to this week's episode of the It's Okay Kid podcast, your weekly dose of clarity and self-discovery. So I'm not in my normal spot this week. I've been kicked out of my room. So I'm in my bedroom. So apologies for the illuminating colour behind us. So I want to talk about imposter syndrome this week, or the trappy imposter syndrome. And the reason I'm touching on this is because I done a video for this week around this topic, and I didn't think it was good enough, so I'm having to redo it tonight in the bedroom because I get the fear of imposter syndrome. I get the fear that it wasn't good enough. I get the fear that people aren't going to listen to me, they're going to think I'm look silly, and everything else that comes with that. And that's the reason. It sounds like imposter syndrome sounds like it creeps up in people are going to ask me to leave. They're going to find out that I don't belong, or I'm too scared to put my hand up and ask because people are going to think I'm silly. And the example I've got is this podcast. Sometimes I fall into the trap of trying to sound smarter than you actually are. And people will do that as well. You're not being your genuine self because you think that you have to be smarter because you don't belong in these rooms. I do it in this podcast, and you'll probably do it. You maybe do it in meetings. But the reason being is, it's not about your credentials. It's about your self-belief. It's about that inner dialogue you have with yourself. It's nothing to do with your credentials. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You're in these rooms because you belong. People have asked you in there, or even better, you've put yourself in an environment where you're stretching yourself and you're growing. And that wee inner persecutor hates that. That wee inner persecutor says, people are laughing at you, you're going to look stupid, you shouldn't be here. But that's where you need to reframe. And I'll give you a funny story. During lockdown, when we all switched to Teams, I was sometimes speaking to blank screens. You'll know that. Nobody would turn their camera on because we're probably sitting in our underpants, but nobody would turn their camera on. And I was on all these meetings with directors, senior managers. I was one of them, and you had to give your update on your department. I worked in the railway. And I started to get a panic attack. Anxiety started to creep in. I wasn't in a very good place at the time, but I started, because I felt as if I was just speaking into a void. I couldn't see faces. It was a screen. And then I started to panic when it was my turn. But that's where you have to, that's what the meaning that you're attaching to that. That's your imposter syndrome creeping in. They're going to find me out. It was nothing to do with my credentials. I know my job. It was about the belief I had in speaking in this new environment. And that's what happens. That wee voice, that wee inner prosecutor wants to keep you safe. But you have to reframe that. You have to look for the evidence. What's the good feedback that I've just ignored? What's the wins also that I'm ignoring? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the feedback. What's the problems I'm solving? I'm competent. And here's a trick or a tip for you. I've never thought somebody was stupid who asked me, can you just elaborate on that? Or I didn't quite understand that. Could you reframe that or give me a different angle? Because see, by you being brave and asking, that shows competence. That shows that you're confident enough to raise your hand and ask somebody to explain more. And also you're doing that person a favour because you're letting them speak about a subject that they know, and they want to be seen, they want to be known. Everybody's the main character in their own movie. So you're actually doing them a favour by that, and also showing that you're a confident individual. Simon Sinek, who's like a motivational speaker, I speak about him all the time. When he goes into a new environment or a new business and he asks to come in for to do a motivational speech in the business, he asks loads of questions. There is no, he wants to know everything. And this guy's a really smart guy, but he's sometimes not clued up on the business he goes into or the topic that they want me to do a speech on. So he has to ask loads of questions. That's not an admission that he's stupid. That's just, I'm confident enough to ask, and I want you to tell me, and then I'll show you my competence by learning what you tell me and then moving forward. And we always do that. And as well, we compare each other. We compare. Instagram's mad for that. I do it myself, you're probably guilty as well. I'm flicking through Instagram and comparing everybody's highlight reel. People are tweeting all these messages, and that's why with this podcast I'm trying to keep it as authentic as possible. I've got a lot of life experience, I've got a lot of skills, and I can help people. But for want of a better phrase, you don't want to sound like an arsehole, and you don't want to come across as a robot, and people want to connect with like-minded people. And when you're looking at somebody's Instagram and going, fucking hell, they're miles ahead of me, they're not. And I was on Instagram doom scrolling during the week. I'm trying to quit that, but it's proven very difficult. But there was one guy that says if you take the amount of posts somebody's put, and say for instance you're posting 5 times a week, if you divide that by 5, and then I think it was divided by 52, and that will tell you how many years, or that will give you an indication of how that person got to where they got to. And that's a kind of realism. You're not going to get to where you want to go in week 1, 2 and 3. So why are you comparing yourself to people that have been doing it a lot longer than you? Just go at your own pace, and you start to go, they're ahead of me, I'll never do that. And then that voice creeps in, the wee inner prosecutor that amplifies your mistakes, your shortfalls, the fact that you're learning in public. That's teaching you, that's telling you that's a failure. Like, fucking hell, you've put your hand up there and asked a question. What are you all about? That's what it does to you. But that's not, it's having the courage to learn in public, having the courage to put your hand up and saying, by the way, I don't know. I don't. I mean, if it's part of your job and you should know, then that's a different story. But there is absolutely no shame in putting your hand up and saying, by the way, can you elaborate on that? Can you let me know? And also, what your inner prosecutor does is, it just dismisses. It dismisses all the wins, all the stuff you solve. That's how you need to reframe it. Your inner prosecutor is not accurate. It's there to keep you safe. It's not there to tell you the truth. You're there to tell yourself the truth. So that's how you stack confidence. You look for your wins, because it's your self-belief lagging behind reality. The reality is you belong. You should be there. You want to grow. You want to stretch. You belong in these rooms. You need to convince yourself that you belong in these rooms. So you need to bring your self-belief up to reality. And the reason and the way you do that is by reframing. It's by looking for, when somebody gives you good feedback, when you solve a problem, that's the kind of things you're looking for. You're looking for the positives. And the more you do it, the more you'll get into a habit of spotting it. But right now, that wee voice inside you that says you don't belong is looking to keep you safe, but you're looking to grow and stretch. So that's how you reframe that. The real cost of no doing this, and we've all been there, I've done it myself, is you end up burning out, because what you're doing is you end up working twice as hard to prove to somebody that you belong. You end up not putting your hand up, so you end up playing it small and missing out on opportunities that should come your way. And you end up saying no to things that you're ready for because that doubt has creeped in. Imposter syndrome keeps you hidden. It keeps you hidden for the future you that you want. So that's how you do it. You look for the confidence, you stack your wins, and you don't overcome it by proving that you belong. You already belong. You overcome it, like I said, by learning in public and allowing yourself to fail, dusting yourself off and going again, and no giving in to that inner prosecutor or inner chimp or inner bitch or that wee arsehole that shouts at you now and again. That's the voice you need to dull down and you need to push forward. That's how you escape the trap of imposter syndrome. Right, I hope that was useful. Let me know in the comments. Lee's back from Thailand, so he should be coming on the show. I've got another couple of guests lined up. Lisa's in, make my dinner. That's how I've been here. But let me know if that's helpful, and let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about something else. Like I say, I've got a lot of experience, a lot of life experience. I'm a qualified coach. I've got loads of skills that I can talk about. If you want me to touch on something, if it's fighting or if it's my personal experience, let me know. Okay? Cheers.